Ladies and gentlemen, here's breaking news from ZimwavesTV. Once again, ZANU-PF has declared that the word succession is forbidden vocabulary, at least until 2027. Speaking ahead of the party's annual conference to be held in Mutare from October 10 to 23, the ruling party's Information and Publicity Director, Farai Marapira, said the issue of succession will not be up for discussion. According to him, those talking about it are outsiders, people with no historical ties to the Revolutionary Party, which in ZANU-PF language loosely translates to anyone not wearing a green scarf or singing the national anthem in a war veteran's accent. Marapira insisted that ZANU-PF's conference will focus on relevant issues, which usually means praising the president's vision, approving a few resolutions written 3 months ago, and pretending the economy is perfectly fine while inflation is galloping like a horse on steroids.
Well, to educate the generality of Zimbabweans, succession is dealt with at Congress. We are not going to Congress. We have Congress in 2027. We are going to a conference. And the issue of succession is not an issue within ZANU-PF. If you look, most of the purveyors of this succession issue are known not to be members of ZANU-PF. They are known not to be within the structures of ZANU-PF. So as ZANU-PF, we will not allow a conversation to be imported into the party. We are going to conference to continue with checking up on the mandate which we received from the people in 2023. We all know that the issue is the economy. The people of Zimbabwe voted for President Mnangagwa so that he could continue taking Zimbabwe on a positive economic trajectory. And this is what we will be focused on. Resolution number 1 actually speaks to the fact that succession is not yet a conversation, because resolution number 1 speaks to the perpetuation of the current. So you cannot perpetuate the current and talk of succession at the same time. So if anything, resolution number 1 states that there is no succession conversation within ZANU-PF, because resolution number 1 speaks to the perpetuation of the current. The relationship between the president and his 2 vice presidents is a relationship of brotherhood. These are people who have been in the trenches for the independence of Zimbabwe. You know, they've faced death and they've sacrificed along others for this country to be free. So all this talk of animosity, all this talk of hatred and fighting, these are just narrow agendas by other parties trying to bring, hoping, actually not trying to, but hoping to bring alarm and despondency within our rank and file. But our party members know how communication cascades. So this is excitable news to non-members of the party, but to the members of the party coming to conference, especially our delegates, these are non-events and these are non-issues, because everyone in the party knows how we communicate, and there is no such thing. So as a party, we are solid behind President Mnangagwa.
The real political drama, he said, will wait for the 2027 Congress, when conveniently the succession question will suddenly become both relevant and democratic, depending on who is holding the gavel. The declaration comes at a time when whispers of internal discontent are getting louder, whispers that the ruling elite pretends not to hear. As fuel prices soar, the currency trembles, and the people choke under the taxes and corruption, ZANU-PF insists the only crisis worth mentioning is one invented by foreigners with smartphones and Twitter accounts. Yet behind the revolutionary cadence, factions are quietly sharpening their knives, waiting for the right moment to turn comrade into competitor. And from the look of things, it looks like 10 October to us. By insisting that succession is not relevant, Marapira has effectively said what every Zimbabwean already knows, that in ZANU-PF, leadership change is treated like witchcraft, something only discussed in whispers and always blamed on enemies of the state. The so-called outsiders pushing the topic might just be ordinary Zimbabweans wondering whether Zimbabwe will ever experience a peaceful handover of power, or whether it's destined to remain a political version of Groundhog Day, replaying the same story with different uniforms. As the Mutare Conference approaches, one thing is clear: there will be singing, dancing, praise poetry, and declarations that the party is united. But deep inside the party corridors, the question that no one dares to ask out loud will echo: who comes after the crocodile? Ladies and gentlemen, subscribe to Zimwaves TV and share our videos so that the revolution can spread.